Right, today I'm going to try and convert some non-dForce hair into dForce. I know there's a lot of videos on how to do this, but I'm trying to come up with a faster way of doing it that's more reliable. I've loaded this Genesis 8.1 character with this textured bob hair. It's available on the Does Marketplace, I believe. So it's currently loaded up onto the character. As you can see, it's quite a detailed hair, but it's based on strips. You can see the strips there in smooth shaded view. Now the first thing I'm going to do is edit the object geometry and add a dForce modifier for a dynamic surface. And then if we look at the surfaces for the hair, you can see there's on this one there's a single cap and a single hair surface. What I'm going to do on this one is first of all fix the cap, because we know that won't move under dForce. Textured bob hair then. Now I've converted it to a dForce dynamic surface, I'm going to create a dForce modifier weight node parented to the bob hair. Accept that, and that's created this dForce modifier weight node on it. I'm going to start off by picking the hair, and in Tools in the geometry editor, you can see there the cap and the hair. I can select the cap, and then if I go to the weight map brush with the dForce modifier selected, you've got a dForce simulation influence weights, and we can add a map. Now because I've got the cap selected in the geometry editor, I can right click on the viewport, and I can say weight editing, fill the selected with 0. What that's done is it's frozen the cap in place, so it won't be affected by dForce. Now if we remember the shortcuts, it'll be a bit easier here. If I go back to the geometry editor, it's Alt-Shift-G on Windows, and I want to make the cap invisible just so we know that we've dealt with it. Right then, the hair, I'm going to start off, I'm going to change to a lasso selection for the geometry, and I'm going to try to fix the top of the hair in place without it looking too unnatural. If I switch back to the geometry editor again, so Alt-Shift-G, and just lasso the top of the hair there, you can see the polygon selected, and then I'm going to go Alt-Shift-W to switch back to the weight map. Make sure you've got the modifier selected in the browser again. Now right click, weight editing, fill the selected with 0. So I've frozen the top of the hair so it won't be influenced, but it's going to look a bit weird if I simulate that. It's going to have very sharp angles. So if I invert the selection, which is Control/, I think it's Control/, There we go. Control slash inverts the selection. So now I've got all the weighted polygons selected. And I'm going to go to weight editing, smooth selected. I don't know why I've got these figures, but about 90-20 is a good set of figures. What it's done is it's smoothened off the remaining previously unselected polygons from blue to red, so that the fall off of influence is a bit more rounded. Now I'm going to invert the selection again. So these are just the strands I've edited. And I'm going to do Control star. What this has done is it's selected all the polygons from those strands I've just edited. I'm going to hide them. Now we can see the strands that are still left to do. So if I do Alt-Shift-G, back to the geometry editor, we've still got the lasso selected. So I can now pick a slightly larger lasso and pick up the tops of the remaining strands. Alt-Shift-W, fill the selected polygons with 0, invert my selection with Control slash again, and weight editing, smooth the selected. And there we go. Right, I'll do Control slash again, and then Control star, geometry visibility, hide the selected. I'm going to carry on doing this down the head. What we're trying to do is change it so that the top of each strand is fixed and it won't fall out, but the remainder of the strand will bend and be influenced by dForce. So I want to carry on. This will seem a bit boring, but hopefully you'll get the idea. So Alt-Shift-G, select the polygons, Alt-Shift-W, fill the selected with 0, Control slash to invert, right click, smooth the selected, Control slash again, Control star, hide the selected polygons. Back to geometry, Alt-Shift-G, back to weight, fill the selected with 0, Control slash, smooth the selected, Control slash, Control star, oops, hide selected, Control Shift G, Control Shift W, fill selected with 0, Control slash to invert, weight editing, smooth the selected, Control slash again, Control star again, hide the selected. So we're getting there. This method of doing it, there is another way of doing it, which is each time you do a layer you simulate and you can see which hairs fall out, but by doing it this way I know which hairs I've already edited because I've still got the selection. So if I do this right to the end, so Control Shift G again gets me back to geometry editor, pick the tops of the strands, Control Shift W, weight editing, fill the selected with 0, Control slash, weight editing, smooth selected. Control / again, Control *, hide the selected. Nearly there. If I just rotate it, you can see that because I've gone for a side-on view, it's keeping it pretty symmetrical. Excuse the clown hair look, but so as long as you keep it pretty straight on, or you can just switch to a side view. Should have done that really. If we go to a left view, just so you can see it's more straight. Make sure you're in the geometry editor. Control-Shift-G. Select the tops of the strands. Control-Shift-W. Weight edit. Fill the selected with 0. Control /. Right click. Weight edit. Smooth selected. Control / again. Control * again. Right click. Geometry visibility, hide the selected. Control-Shift-G, select the tops. Control-Shift-W, weight edit, fill the selected to 0. Control /, Control *. Have I done that right? Don't think I have. Okay. Control-Shift-G, just go through that again. So selected those polygons. Control-Shift-W to go to weight map. Weight edit, fill the selected with 0. Control / to invert. Smooth the selected. Control / Control *. Hide the selected. Right, down to the last few strands. Just around the back of the neck there. Control-Shift-G. Control-Shift-W. Weight edit, fill the selected with 0. Control / to invert. Weight edit, smooth the selected. Control / again, Control *. Geometry visibility, hide the selected. Right down to the last ones here. So I'll go to the back so I can get a better view of it. Control-Shift-G. Pick the tops. Control-Shift-W. Weight edit, fill the selected to 0. Invert the selection. Smooth the selected. Invert. Expand. Right, that should be all of the hair now defined with the dForce weight map. So I can show all polygons again. What you should see there is every strand is weighted from top to bottom for influence. Now hopefully that will simulate. What I'm going to do first is go back to my textured bob hair geometry, and under surfaces for the hair I'm going to turn off self collision, because that will accelerate the simulation quite a lot. I'm also going to change the friction down to 0.1, because hair doesn't generally stick to things, and this will let it settle a bit better normally, I think. So let's just try a simulation. Don't need to do it from a memorized pose, but So if I simulate that, we're getting a bit of collision offset warnings. This is where the hair is intersecting itself normally, or it's intersecting the scalp. Let's see what happens. Well, that'll do. Doesn't look terrible. Now you might ask why I bothered doing this. Once you put your character into a pose that is not perfectly upright, so let's just find a pose, base poses. There's my Genesis 8 character, put it in a laying down pose, find it in the camera view, oops, there we go. Right, you should be able to see that's by default the hair doesn't look very naturally hung, not very well posed. But if I simulate, I'm going to try it without going with a memorised pose to start with. It might cause an issue because of the hand touching the head. Whilst I'm here, I'm also going to select all of the surfaces from the hair, change the collision offset to 0.1. This should cut down the number of collision warnings before we simulate. So let's hit the simulate button. There we go, some faster into the simulations. Let's see what happens. Now hopefully this is quite a subtle change. We don't want the hair to just flatten against the head and fall under gravity. We want it to act like real hair and just, you know, tilt with the head slightly. We're not trying to create a pendulum, but we're trying to make it look more natural and realistic. You can also use this method with long hair. Normally the strands are a lot longer, so it wouldn't actually take much longer to do. You can see this method I've used, it wasn't too intensive because I wasn't having to simulate it at each stage. This might go a bit wild. Right, I'm going to stop the simulation. If I let it run too long, I think it's just going to all look a bit mad. Whilst I'm here, I'm also going to try and smoothen off the strands a bit. You can see they're a bit jagged due to the polygons. So if I select the hair again, I'm going to edit the object geometry and convert it to a sub D. There you go. The strands are a bit more rounded. It's not so obvious once you've textured it, but it does make a difference. So if I go back to an eye display of that hair, oops, I'm out of focus. But there we go. Hopefully you can see that's better than normal hair. Once you've deforced it, it looks a bit more realistic. And hopefully you'll be able to apply that to other types of hair